Hey everybody, I have a very important announcement to make. For Christmas last year, I received a very special present from my loving cousin. Knowing what a sucker I am for tokusatsu-related material, especially Big G himself, she surprised me with a book that had only just been published before the holiday. 500 Godzilla Facts by James Egan. At least, I hope that's how it's pronounced. Anyway, have you ever heard of this book? If not, then shame on you, because this book has surprised me in more ways than I can count. Many of the surprises even outnumber the 500 facts indicated in the title. Because of that feat, and because you all seem to love my reviews so much, I feel that I need to share some of the samples of the book with you all. When I first held the book, I honestly doubted that it would astound me with anything in its pages. I've researched the KAIJYUU franchise for many years now, constantly digging up more and more behind-the-scenes details about the movies, the lost projects, how well they did at the box office, to the point that I've practically become a walking encyclopedia of the genre. Surely, by this point in my life, with everything I already have accumulated about the genre, there can't possibly be anything in this book that can teach me something I don't already know, or amaze me in some way. But you know what they say, never judge a book by its cover. Within a few minutes, I was instantly wowed by the things I examined in the text. The content in this narrow book told me some of the craziest stuff I've ever read in any form of literature, even on Godzilla. Naturally, that of course includes things I never knew. For example, in 1997, paleontologists discovered a new species of dinosaur from the Triassic period, which they dubbed the Godzilla-saurus. Gojira, just in case you don't already know, is the Japanese name for Godzilla. More on that a little later, but more importantly, have any of you ever heard of this dinosaur? Because I sure haven't, and I monitor this kind of information like a hawk. And it gets better. Apparently, in Washington State, there's a city called Zilla. Additionally, the city is home to a cathedral that is currently known as the Christian Worship Center, but for a long while, it was initially named the Church of Godzilla. Not even kidding. There's even a steel wireframe of Godzilla erected right behind the Church of Worship, wielding a sign that says, "Jesus saves." Again, not even kidding. Granted, the church received its original identification long before the Godzilla movies were ever created, but it's still pretty hilarious that America was once home to a church with a name that gave the implication to a diehard nerd that it was a place of worship for the most bizarre of moviegoers. And that's just a hint of the mind-blowing details you can encounter in this read-through, and that's why I'm so eager to share it with you all. Each chapter in the book explores a random number of behind-the-scenes or on-screen points that are either meant to prep newcomers of what to expect from the specific movie before their first viewing, and or to fill people in on some trivia that occurred during the movie's production and how it was received upon release, among other talking points. Taking influence from this, what I plan to do is create a review series that explores each chapter individually, talking about the movie and the plethora of facts that were given in the book about their respective entry. Naturally, I won't go over every single detail in each chapter, as several of the facts in each entry were just filler so that the author could reach the 500 mark. Mostly stuff a lot of us already know, or just silly gags the author made out of the movie, its characters, or the tagline on the movie's theatrical poster. For example, he mentions Mothra's Japanese name is Mosura, or that the first Godzilla movie is considered by fans to be the best of the series, etc., etc. Things like that will be ignored so that I won't spoil too much about the book, and also to keep each video from getting too long. Though, if I feel the vid could benefit from a few more seconds of runtime, I may decide to improv a bit by focusing on these minor points and possibly adding a little trivia of my own that is not mentioned in the book. With that being said, I'm going to title this anthological retrospective in honor of the source material, because why not? And before the end of this video, perhaps I'll share with you a few elements from the book and my commentary on each point, just to foreshadow what this particular review series will look like. So I guess we'll start with the very first fact, which introduces us to the terminology of the genre. This, of course, is the word kaiju. The first Godzilla movie is a kaiju film. A kaiju film revolves around a giant monster attacking a city. Kaiju is Japanese for monster. The term became popularized in the Western world thanks to the release of the monster film Pacific Rim. The Godzilla series are Kaiju movies. Kaiju are movies where giant monsters fight each other. Most kaiju monsters are based on mythological creatures. Alright, now I feel I have to intercept a little here. The word kaiju has long since been inducted into the tokusatsu vocabulary as the Japanese translation for monster, but this is in fact not true. And it is a common mistake amongst fans, probably because the word is so frequently used in tokusatsu films and TV shows, where the subtitles always list its translation as monster. And Pacific Rim's translation, likewise inaccurate, is another contributing factor for this phenomenon. There's a myriad of ways in which the word is said to be correctly spelled, but the word kaiju is actually the Japanese word for strange beast, while the literal Japanese word for monster is actually bake. In fact, if you watch the American dub of Varan the Unbelievable, the titular kaiju's name has been changed to Obake, which is a derivation of the word bake.
Just another excuse to keep from moving them out.
Another excuse?
The main one is obake.
Obake was their word for prehistoric reptile. The Koshidu village natives for generations had worshipped an imaginary monster believed to be asleep at the bottom of the lake. Kishi informed me that according to legend, if the effects of my experiments were harmful, the monster would awaken, rise out of the water, and destroy the world.
But like I said, it's a common mistake. A minor one at that. So let's not sweat it. Let's see here. Number 30. 4 actors played Godzilla. Haruo Nakajima, Katsumi Tezuka, Jiro Suzuki, and Ryusaku Takasugi. Okay, this is the first time I'm ever hearing about this. But unless this is another error, I think there may be some weight to it. I looked up these 2 new names, and they are indeed credited for playing Godzilla in his premiere movie. Either Mr. Suzuki and Mr. Takasugi were involved so briefly during the film's production that none of the documentaries I've seen even bothered to mention them, or, like I said, this could just be a rumor that is being passed around, which is yet another common trope amongst the tokusatsu fandom, as evidenced by the Kaiju Bake blunder. However, it is true that Haruo Nakajima and Katsumi Tezuka played the titular monster. Heck, they even made cameos in the movie. Although, when performing in the suit, Mr. Nakajima did just about everything that appeared on screen. Anyway, what else is in here? Godzilla is an iguanodon. Well, yeah, obviously. King Kong vs. Godzilla, my favorite. Number 103. Godzilla drop kicks Kong at one point. The filmmakers used stop motion for this scene. It is the only time stop motion was used for Godzilla. Okay, now Mothra vs. Godzilla. Number 129. In the American dub, Mothra's name is never uttered.
You say the egg that appeared in our harbor belongs to you?
Yes, it belongs to Mothra.
Mothra.
Number 130. This is the first movie since the original to be set in Tokyo. This is also the first film in the series where the American version didn't add any scenes. On top of that, this is the first film where Godzilla loses to another monster. You know what? We're not going to call this planned retrospective by the book's title. Instead, I have a much better name in mind. Until then, that's enough internet for today. See ya.